There are things about Sigma males that even they don't fully understand about themselves. Hidden patterns, dark truths, uncomfortable realities that most content creators won't touch because they're too raw, too controversial, or too unsettling. What you're about to learn can't be unlearned, and it will fundamentally change how you see yourself and the world. Most videos about Sigma males celebrate the strengths, explain the behaviors, and validate the struggles. But today, we're going deeper into the shadowy territory that nobody talks about, the uncomfortable truths, the dark patterns, the things that exist whether we acknowledge them or not. This isn't motivation. This isn't validation. This is raw psychological reality stripped of all comfortable narratives. Fair warning. Once you understand these truths, there's no going back to comfortable ignorance. Forbidden truth. 1. You're wired for isolation, not connection. Here's the truth. Nobody wants to say out loud, you're not temporarily alone while waiting for the right people. You're fundamentally structured for solitude. Ever noticed how even your closest relationships have an expiration date in your mind? That's not commitment issues or emotional damage. That's your psychological architecture asserting itself. Here's the uncomfortable reality. While society tells you that humans are social creatures who need connection, you're the exception. Your brain is wired to find more satisfaction in solitude than most people find in their best relationships. What this actually means: you'll always feel slightly disconnected, even from people you love. Long-term relationships will always feel partially restrictive. You'll periodically crave complete withdrawal from everyone. Your happiest memories are likely solo experiences. Deep connection will always feel temporary to you. The psychological mechanism. Your nervous system is calibrated differently. What registers as loneliness in others registers as peace in you. What feels like connection to others feels like obligation to you. Most people don't want to admit this, but you're not damaged for feeling this way. You're just operating with different firmware. Society's narrative about human connection simply doesn't apply to your psychological structure. The brutal truth: you can learn to maintain relationships, but you'll never need them the way others do. And pretending otherwise creates a lifetime of inauthentic performance. Forbidden truth. 2. Your moral flexibility is higher than you admit. This one makes people uncomfortable. Your capacity for moral detachment and situational ethics is significantly higher than average, and you know it. Ever noticed how you can intellectually justify almost anything if the logic is sound? That's not just rational thinking. That's a reduced emotional attachment to conventional morality. Here's what nobody will tell you. Your lack of need for social approval makes you dangerous in ways most people can't be. You're not constrained by the same moral guardrails that keep others in line. What this actually looks like? You can see evil actions as logical in certain contexts. You understand villains' perspectives too easily. You've thought through scenarios others find unthinkable. You don't have visceral reactions to moral violations that shock others. You can manipulate social situations, but choose not to, usually. The psychological reality? Your independence from social validation means you're not using social approval as a moral compass. You rely on internal logic, which can justify almost anything if the reasoning is sound. Most people don't realize this, but this moral flexibility is why you're acutely aware of your own potential for darkness. You know you could be ruthless if you chose to be. The uncomfortable truth: what keeps you ethical isn't inability to do wrong, it's conscious choice not to. You're not good because you can't be bad. You're good because you decide to be. The deeper danger: this awareness of your own moral flexibility makes you distrust yourself sometimes. You know what you're capable of, and it's more than most people could imagine. Forbidden truth. 3. You fantasize about complete disappearance. Here's something you've probably never admitted out loud. You regularly fantasize about vanishing completely and starting over with zero connections to your current life. Ever found yourself researching remote locations, new identities, or how to completely disconnect? That's not escapism. That's your psyche revealing its truest desire. Here's the forbidden reality. Part of you genuinely wants to erase your current existence and rebuild without the weight of others' expectations, connections, or needs. What this fantasy involves: moving somewhere no one knows you, cutting all ties without explanation, starting fresh with zero social obligations, living under the radar, completely autonomous, experiencing total freedom from relationship maintenance. The psychological truth: this isn't depression or avoidance, it's your authentic self, recognizing that your current life structure contains too many compromises to your natural state. Most people don't want to hear this, but this fantasy persists because it represents your ideal existence. You're not running from something, you're running toward absolute autonomy. The uncomfortable reality: the only reason you don't act on this fantasy is pragmatic consideration, money, logistics, consequences, not because you don't genuinely want it. The deeper truth: every relationship, commitment, and obligation you maintain is a conscious choice against this persistent fantasy. You're actively choosing connection over your natural pull toward complete isolation. Forbidden truth. 4. You're capable of extreme coldness. This might be the most disturbing truth. Your capacity for emotional detachment in critical moments is borderline sociopathic. Ever noticed how you can turn off emotions about people when necessary? That's not healthy boundary setting. That's an abnormal ability to emotionally disconnect that most people don't possess. Here's what nobody tells you. When you decide someone is done, they're completely done. You can remove people from your life with a surgical precision that disturbs others who witness it. What this actually looks like: you can end long-term relationships with zero emotional hangover. You feel little guilt about cutting people off permanently. You can watch others suffer consequences of their actions with pure observation. Your empathy is entirely elective. You can turn it on or off. You've shocked people with how unmoved you are by their emotional appeals. The psychological mechanism: your emotional system operates independently from your attachment system. You can care about someone intellectually while feeling nothing for them emotionally when circumstances change. Most people don't realize this, but this coldness isn't learned behavior. It's natural capacity. You're not suppressing emotions. You're genuinely not having them. The brutal truth: people who've been cut off by you often describe it as terrifying. One day you're there, the next you're completely absent, as if they never existed. The deeper reality: this capacity for coldness is both protection and weapon. It protects you from being manipulated emotionally, but it also means you can hurt people in ways they never recover from. Forbidden truth. 5. You see most people as functionally incompetent. Here's a truth that sounds arrogant, but isn't. You genuinely perceive most people as operating at a significantly lower level of awareness and capability than you. Ever catch yourself thinking, how do people function like this? That's not superiority complex. That's accurate pattern recognition. Here's what you actually observe. Most people are reactive rather than proactive, emotional rather than logical, dependent rather than autonomous, and unconscious rather than self-aware. What this creates in you: constant internal frustration with others' decision-making, difficulty respecting people who can't see obvious solutions, impatience with emotional reasoning and irrational behavior, secret contempt for people who need constant validation, awareness that you're often the most capable person in any room. The psychological reality: this isn't narcissism. Narcissists need others to see them as superior. You don't need validation of your superiority, you just notice it constantly. Most people don't want to acknowledge this, but your pattern recognition is accurate. You do see connections, solutions, and patterns that escape most people. The uncomfortable truth: this creates profound loneliness. You're not just physically alone, you're intellectually alone in a world where most people operate at a level you outgrew years ago. The deeper burden: you can't unsee this disparity. Once you recognize the competence gap, you can't pretend it doesn't exist. This creates permanent alienation from average human experience. Forbidden truth 6. Your loyalty has conditions, others don't. Here's something that sounds mercenary. Your loyalty isn't unconditional, it's performance-based, and you'll revoke it without hesitation if conditions aren't met. Ever been called disloyal or cold for cutting off people who betrayed or disappointed you? That's because your loyalty operates on a contract model that others don't understand. Here's the forbidden reality: you're loyal to principles and performance, not to people and history. Someone's past value doesn't protect them from present accountability. What this actually means: blood relations mean nothing if behavior doesn't meet your standards. Long history together won't save someone who violates your principles. You feel zero obligation to forgive betrayal or incompetence. Your loyalty can vanish instantly if someone crosses certain lines. You don't believe in unconditional anything. The psychological mechanism: your loyalty is transactional at its core. You exchange loyalty for aligned values and consistent behavior. When that exchange becomes unbalanced, the contract is void. Most people don't operate this way, but they confuse emotional attachment with loyalty. You've separated the two completely. You can end attachments when loyalty conditions aren't met. The brutal truth: people experience your loyalty withdrawal as shocking betrayal because they assumed your loyalty was unconditional like theirs, but you never promised that. The deeper reality: this conditional loyalty model protects you from toxic relationships, but also ensures you'll lose people who can't meet your standards consistently. Forbidden truth 7. You're comfortable with power imbalance. This final truth is perhaps most controversial. You're not interested in equal relationships. You're most comfortable when you have clear psychological advantage. Ever noticed how you're attracted to people you can somewhat control, or who need you more than you need them? That's not insecurity. That's your psyche seeking advantageous positioning. Here's what nobody admits. Your independence means you're only comfortable in relationships where you maintain power advantage. True equality feels threatening to your autonomy. What this actually looks like: you prefer relationships where you're less invested. You're most attracted when you're the more valuable party. Equal partnerships make you uncomfortable. You lose interest when someone doesn't need you, but also doesn't need you too much. Your ideal dynamic is benevolent dominance. The psychological truth: power balance means you could be hurt, controlled, or trapped. Power advantage means you're always free to leave without significant loss. Most people don't realize this, but this isn't fear of intimacy. It's strategic self-protection. You've learned that vulnerability is dangerous, so you engineer relationships where you're less vulnerable. The uncomfortable reality: this makes genuine partnership nearly impossible for you. You can't fully open up when you're strategically maintaining advantage. The deeper truth: The only way you can experience true intimacy is with someone who's as independent as you are, creating equality through mutual autonomy rather than through mutual dependence. Your isolation preference frees you from connection needs. Your moral flexibility frees you from social constraints. Your disappearance fantasies reveal lack of attachment. Your coldness capacity frees you from emotional manipulation. Your awareness of others' incompetence creates permanent separation. Your conditional loyalty protects strategic position. Your comfort with power, imbalance, maintains control. Here's the meta-truth. You're essentially post-social in your psychological structure. You've evolved beyond the need for belonging that keeps most people in line. Most people don't want to face this, but this makes you simultaneously more free and more dangerous than conventional people. Here's why this knowledge is forbidden. Once you consciously recognize these patterns in yourself, you can't pretend to be normal anymore. You can't perform connection you don't feel. You can't fake loyalty that's actually conditional. You can't hide your coldness from yourself. This awareness forces a choice. Accept your nature and stop performing humanity, or consciously override your nature for pragmatic reasons. The burden of consciousness. You now see yourself clearly, and that clarity is irreversible. You can't go back to comfortable self-deception. If these truths resonated uncomfortably, welcome to full self-awareness. You now see yourself without the comforting filters that most people use to avoid existential discomfort. The question isn't whether these truths are accurate. You already know they are. The question is what you'll do with this knowledge. Will you accept your nature and stop apologizing for being different? Or will you continue performing normalcy to protect others from your reality? There's no right answer, but now you're choosing consciously. If this video revealed parts of yourself you've never admitted out loud, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below with the word aware and tell me which forbidden truth hit hardest. And if this video gave you language for experiences you thought were unique to you, hit that like button and subscribe for more uncomfortable truths about the Sigma male psychology. Remember, full self-awareness is a burden and a gift. Use it wisely. Until next time, face your shadow.